Welcome to the Bearded Finisher Podcast, your one-stop show for all things finishing and coatings. Your host, Zach, and a variety of industry experts will guide you through the art of perfecting your finishing and business game. From seasoned pros to fresh faces, get ready for tips, tricks, and trends to elevate your knowledge and business to the next level.
What is going on? Welcome to another episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. Today's episode, as everyone can see, we have got the one, the only, Mr. Chade Turner. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. How are you today?
Man, I'm doing good. Finally out of the cold. That's probably my favorite thing. I thought moving down to Texas, you wouldn't see that much cold, but this year's been a weird one.
Yeah, it has. The tomorrow we're supposed to get real bad wind, I guess. Supposed to be 70, 80 mile an hour winds.
Holy crap. I'm supposed to hit the road tomorrow. That'll be fun.
Yeah. In the RV, be careful, man.
No, I think we've got to run up to Oklahoma for a little family time and just for the weekend. So I was like, I don't want to drive the bus all the way up there for like 2 days to turn around and drive it all the way back. So
Yeah.
we rented a vehicle and we're just gonna, run up there in that, some more space, like a minivan, and spend some time with the family and then turn around and come back on Sunday.
Yeah, nice. That'll be cool.
So, yeah, that'll be
quick
fun.
Trip.
So for those of you that don't know, Mr. Chade Turner, he has been around for quite some time. You and I kind of got acquainted, I'd say the most when I was I think we knew about each other before.
When you're in Tulsa?
Yeah, when I was out in Tulsa. I can't remember. I think we talked a little bit, maybe once or through social media, but really kind of talking a lot when I was on the manufacturing side over at CIC.
Yeah.
So Chade is the man when it comes to a lot of the metal coatings. You've really poured yourself in that. I mean, just coatings in general. I mean, if you're wanting a good quality finish, this man puts it down better than anyone I've seen. And you're still in Amarillo?
2 hours north of Amarillo, little bitty town called Perryton.
I was going to say, like, the desert?
It's High Plains, West Texas.
We drive through Amarillo quite a bit going to Colorado just to visit some other family. And, man, Amarillo I just don't see how people live in Amarillo just due to that meat processing, that cattle processing yard that's over on the west side. That is brutal.
Yeah. If you get the wrong wind, then it can you can taste it.
It gets bad. I mean, whoa. Every time we drive through there, though, it's always a stopping point for us. We stop at the Big Texan. They've got a nice RV park there, and they give you a free shuttle over to the restaurant. And
yeah.
My wife just loves going over there every time, and the kids want to go look. They have a snake. It's like a non-negotiable. If we're going through Amarillo, we have to go there.
You ever tried to eat the 72 ouncer?
Sweet Jesus, no. There's no way on God's green earth. We've seen some people try it, and man, I don't know if we've ever seen anyone do it, but man, that thing is ridiculous.
Yeah. They put you up on a stage in the middle of the restaurant, and they bring it out, and 72-ounce steak, baked potato. You got rolls and a salad and you've got to eat it within an hour. And it's a pretty cool story on that. The guy that started the restaurant, I don't know his name, but some cowboys came in off the ranch and they were just as hungry as can be. And they ended up eating 72 ounces of steak each. And they made it a deal after that if you could eat all that, then you get it for free. And it started the deal of the Big Texan.
And well, like from what I was reading there, they were talking about it, and I guess they've stayed true. Like, if you don't eat it, you have to pay for it, but you can take it home. But it's like, I think it's like $80.
I was thinking it was around $190-something.
Yeah, 80, 90, because they said I guess the owner, like, he won't let it go over 100 or something like that before. But I'm like, I mean, that's really, because you can just order it too if you want to like split it.
Yeah, you could feed three people easy.
Yeah, and I'm like, that really doesn't seem that bad. I mean, like, I'm like $100. I mean, I get it; it's a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah. You can get a $70 strip or fillet, you know?
yeah, you can throw it on some money. I was when we were in Dallas, my first birthday down here. I wanted Bob's Chop House. We went to, and really famous steakhouse here in Texas. And we got there, and my favorite cut is I love ribeyes, and they had a Japanese Wagyu ribeye special. I don't even remember what it was, but I was looking at my wife.
It
And she's
doesn't
like,
matter.
it's your birthday. Let's do it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm in. It's a once in a lifetime deal. I'm not
Yep.
joking. It was the only way that I can explain that thing was like meat cotton candy.
Yeah. I've had some stuff like that.
It
It's
was just
different.
so tender. You put it in your mouth and it just melted. You didn't need a knife. You didn't need anything. I mean, it was hands down one of the best steaks I think I've ever had in my life. And I've tried to get, we go to other restaurants and tried to get something. There was an American Wagyu ribeye we got in Waco, and I was like, well, that's just disappointing.
Once you've had the best, man, you're
I
right.
know, you're ruined. Well,
Japanese are top
yeah,
for many different things.
exactly. Well, let's kind of kick it off. I know we've been chatting a little bit. Let's just kind of, I mean, tell us about yourself. I mean, where'd you grow up? How'd you, are you always been a West Texas boy or what? How's that?
Yeah, so I was Perryton, Texas, born and raised. My dad delivered me on the loop road in the passenger seat of his pickup.
Holy
Then
crap.
that year he started Turner Construction, or probably the year before that. He was a welder by trade, a master welder, and he wanted to work for himself. So he started a construction company, just general construction. Did a lot of roofing, and that year a big hailstorm came through the Panhandle and tore all the roofs up. So uh, a
That was
Mexican guy, Cecilio
money making year.
Rosales. Yeah. Cecilio he just got to America, and he walked up to my dad on a roof and asked him if he needed help. And he said, "Yeah, get up here." So they became fast friends, and I still talk to Cecilio today. He's a good family friend.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, they roofed that house, and the woman asked him if he could paint the trim when they got done roofing it. And he said, "I painted that trim, and I never roofed another house in my life." But yeah, he kept getting the roofing jobs, of course, and he'd sub them all out to Cecilio, and my dad started Turner Painting.
That is awesome. So, how old were you when you first started jumping in to help dad?
Um, he was taking me on jobs my whole life. Cecilio, my dad had a dump truck and everything. Cecilio would run down the highway to the dump, with a truck full of shingles, and I'd be at the front door, 3 years old, and he'd pull in and pick me up and take me to go to the junkyard and drop those shingles, and he'd take me back to the job site, and I'd hang out with him and stuff. I guess it was hell trying to keep me off the ladder and off the roof. So we had a bucket of nails. I always remember this. He always had a coffee can full of nails and a hammer and a 2x4, and he'd give me that, and I sit under a tree all day just hammering those nails into a board. This was 4 years old.
Yeah, my son is 7 and he loves getting the screw gun and just putting screws and nails in the board.
Hey, yep. If you can do that, or give a kid a knife, man, So
Yes.
that's how we were raised. I was raised on the job site, and I really started working when I was about 11 or 12, and I was working full time by the time I was 13. My
Wow.
dad he was a wild man in his day, so I think he was always scared of that. And he'd pick me up from school every day, and I'd go to work until quitting time, and full time summers, spring breaks, all that. So I've been working pretty much full time except for school since I was 13.
So, did you ever have a point, junior high, high school, where you were like, yeah, I don't want to do this. I want to go do something else?
I hated it my whole freaking life. It was miserable. I want to be chasing girls and smoking cigarettes. I didn't want to be painting. This sucks. And
Yeah.
I guess when I was about 16, I quit fighting him over it. There's got to be an easier way, man. We don't have to sand this whole freaking house 3 times. We don't have to do all of this. This is ridiculous. And when I was about 16, I finally realized, I don't know how it was, but he knows what he's talking about. And if he tells me to do something, I'm just going to do it that way and be done with it. And he'd always say, son, I do shit the hard way, but it works every time. Just do it like this, and I promise it'll work, and just keep going.
I
And
mean, that's some pretty good advice.
since then, it was all smooth sailing. Just do the work the right way once and go on to the next one. And it was easy after that.
I like that. So then after 16, you graduated and just jumped in the family business, or did you go away to school?
Well, I was playing music. I started playing music whenever I was about 14 and
Okay.
met up with some guys in Oklahoma. We were in a punk band, and I graduated high school a year early and moved to Oklahoma City with them, trying to play music. And I always had a job anywhere I went. I went to Oklahoma City and got a job the first day I was there with a painting company. And I was there for almost a year. And my wife and I have been together since we were 13, junior high sweethearts, man.
Whoa. That's
So she
impressive, dude.
graduated. Yeah, it's probably my most proud accomplishment, to be honest with you.
That's a
I
damn good
like
one.
it. It's a good deal. Yeah, yeah. But she graduated high school 2 years early, and I graduated 1 year early. So I was 17 when I moved to Oklahoma City, and she had graduated at the same time. She's a year younger than I am. So we got engaged and moved back, and I moved to Amarillo, and I joined another band by then, and I was touring. So I was gone all the time and painting whenever I was home, and got married. I was
So what
18.
what what instrument did you play?
I played bass for the last band I was in. Played bass and guitar.
Okay. So got married at 18.
Got married at 18. She was 17. She was just a month or two shy of being 18. So did that, married young, no kids. We just love each other, you know?
Oh, that's awesome. What about got the fur kids running around?
But yeah, they're outside. They're not going to be running around barking the whole time. So got Waylon and Jesse and Patsy Climb.
That's pretty awesome. All right, so music. Before we get into dig into the painting, so what's your? Do you still play?
Very little. I pick old country tunes from time to time, but no, I don't play.
So, but you said punk.
Yeah, yeah, we were playing. I started out in punk bands and hardcore bands and stuff. That was our deal.
So now that you've gotten older, what is your? I mean, I'm assuming by the dog names I know, but don't don't want to make an ass
Ye-
out of myself.
that's pretty
What's your
much it, man.
what's your
That's
preferred?
that's pretty much it. Country pre-80s is my deal. I'm a country music history nerd. I always like that stuff. But yeah, old country. I was raised on classic rock, Led Zeppelin, ZZ Top, and there's a lot of new bands out. There's a really really cool, whatever you want to call it, alt country or underground country non-radio music scene. And
If you did the rock and the punk, and now you're into the country, I mean, some of the new stuff's got to kind of appeal to you a little bit. That alt country style that's really popular right now. Do you like it?
yeah, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of good stuff. Of course, Jason Isbell, incredible singer songwriter. Charlie Crockett, direct kin to Davy Crockett. He's got a new album coming out tomorrow. Lost Dog Street Band, all those guys and they were all hardcore and punk kids whenever they were young. It's kind of the way that it went for that scene, it seems.
That's crazy. Okay. Okay. Well, that's pretty awesome. I didn't know that about you. I mean, didn't know you did the band thing. So, how long did you do the touring once you moved back to Amarillo?
We were on the road for about 4 years.
And this would have been like early 20s.
So yeah, Cali, this would have been, yeah, I got married in 2004. And so the mid 2000s, from 2004 to about 6 or 7, I was on the road. But yeah, so we got married. We went to Mexico for our honeymoon, went to Cozumel, got back on Sunday, packed another bag, and I hit the road for 40 days on Monday. And I was gone, and that was our marriage for the first few years.
And that would be rough. I not dabbled. I did a lot of behind the scenes stuff in high school. I DJ'd like proms, and that kind of got me into like the tech side of theater, which got me into lighting and sound for concerts. Worked for a production company doing lighting and sound all through high school and some college. That was a lot of fun. I did one tour leg as the not lighting director, but his like right hand through Texas, and it's when I was from Oklahoma. Man, that's rough.
Yeah, it can be. It's you gotta love it, man. It'll grind you to dust.
I did one tour, and it was like, I want to say it was a summer, so it was like 3 months, and I came back from that living on the bus for 3 months, and I was like, I'm good. I could say I've
Yeah,
done it, and I don't ever want to do it again.
yeah. It's a lot of fun. At 18 years old, I had a Philly cheesesteak in Philadelphia on the 4th of July. There's a lot of cool memories that I have from it
That
all.
would be cool. I remember going to Philly. I was in college and working a job doing lighting and sound installations for churches and stuff. So we travel and set up projection systems, kind of when that whole the progression from your traditional church to more what we try the I would say non-traditional church today or contemporary services. So we were kind of ushering that one in, and I was in Philly doing an install in a church, and the pastor was like, "What do you want to do? Take you guys out to dinner?" I said, "I want a Philly cheesesteak. I want the original.
You gotta have one
I mean,
with
you
cheese
have
whiz,
to."
man.
So he's like, "All right, let me make a call," and then it's me and another guy, and he comes back in. He says, "All right, I'll take you guys for dinner. We're gonna go at 5 because it gets too dark, and you guys don't need to be down there." And this was, I would say, early 2000s, because then I was in college. So I graduated in 01. So it would have been sometime 2 or 3, somewhere in there. And he was like, "All right, we pull up." He's like, "All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in. You stand behind me the entire time and keep your head down and don't talk to anybody."
Yeah.
And in my brain, I'm 19, 20-year-old going, do I really need this cheesesteak if these are the rules?
You gotta have one, man. Yeah, just mind your manners and you'll be good.
So I mean, it was great. I mean, everyone was super nice. I mean, I feel like he made it out to be a lot bigger deal than it actually was. I mean, granted, you weren't the most, you definitely stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy behind the counter was awesome. I mean, it was a great experience, and it was an amazing cheesesteak. It's worth every bit of
Yeah.
it.
Right on. But yeah, so I've always had that traveling bone, from an early age, and it's something that I'm used to and something that I'm somewhat comfortable with.
Nice. All right, so we're in like 2000, pre 2010, right around that area. You got off the road. So what happened after that?
So the band split up, and my wife and I'm working at a tattoo shop in Amarillo. I was a body piercer during that time. Um, I was going to get tattooed from the owner and telling him my situation. He said, "Well, man, we need another piercer. If you're willing to apprentice, then you can come in and head out on the road whenever you need to. No worries." So it was hard to get a painting job. I was working for a company that wasn't very good at all, and I took that opportunity. And that night, I got done getting tattooed, and I drove straight to Dallas all night to a tattoo convention to get my bloodborne pathogens and cross contamination classes and all that, and I started working at the tattoo shop. So I'm doing that, and for extra money, I'm coming home and helping my dad on the weekends on certain projects. And in
Okay, so your dad's still
2006,
running Turner Painting.
yeah. So 2006, he has a heart attack, and this is a guy that went to work. He'd get up and go to work at 4:30 in the morning, and they come home at 7:30 and pick me up and take me to school and then go back to work, and then he'd pick me up at 3 and then we'd go work till 6. And he's just a workhorse. He loved what he did. He really, really did. And So that heart attack just kicked him in the butt. He couldn't go like he used to. And he called me and asked if I'd be willing to move back and help him. He needed some good help. So the music deal was over. Callie and I realized we lived in Amarillo, but we don't do anything but work anyway. Let's go ahead and move back and try. If we're gonna just work and go home, let's do it in Perryton, and it'll be a lot cheaper living. So we did that, moved back in '07, and I
Moved back
got
to
to work
Paris in
beside him.
'07.
Yeah, and I got to work beside him every day until the day that he died. And he was my best friend, man, in the truest sense. Yeah.
That's a special thing. I worked with my dad. I mean, and I'm sure you could attest. It's not always the best or the easiest. But when you look back on it, you're like, yeah, those are pretty flipping awesome times.
Yeah, yeah. Whenever I moved back, it was the best, and it was very easy in my situation. And I got to work beside him. He was my dad, he was my landlord, he was my boss, he was everything in my life, and we got along great. We got along better than friends. It was an amazing relationship, man. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So, if you don't mind, what year did he pass?
He passed away in 2011,
2011. So,
randomly. Yeah,
okay.
it was a random another heart attack, and we met at the shop Monday morning. Um, Getting ready to go to work, I was going over to shoot some enamel in a remodel addition in a customer that we've had forever, and he said, "Man, I just don't feel good." And he hawked up a big loogie, and now I kind of know what that means. But I said, "Man, go home. I'll go over to Mary's house and we'll get rolling and call the client where he was headed." I said, "Man, just call him. Call Bobby and tell him that you don't feel well." My dad always went to work. If he said he didn't feel well, there was something up. And so he did, and he went home and he had a heart attack about an hour and a half later, and that was it.
I mean, but sometimes, I mean, very similar situation. My dad worked all the time in the restaurant business. He grew up in the pizza business, ran pizza restaurants, worked for a company that sold them. But I mean, similar. I hadn't talked to him in a few days, and he was going raining one morning, go to get in his truck, and just had a stroke, and
Hmm.
just right there getting in his
Yeah.
truck. Neighbor found him, and I mean, I don't know. I'm mixed on that. You can say it was quick. They didn't have to suffer because I could. But when you lose someone like that, it hurts no matter what.
Yeah, and he was young. He was 58, and he had a lot of life to live. He had quit smoking whenever he had that first heart attack. He changed his diet. He did everything they told him to do. And the doctor told him, he said, some people can drink whiskey and smoke and live to be 100 years old, and some people can't. And you're just one of the ones that can't, and he had been sober. He didn't drink for for a long time before that, but the cigarettes, and he said it's just hereditary, man. And pretty much the way it is.
That's kind of one of those. I want to go down a weird rabbit hole, but it's kind of one of those. It doesn't to me matter who your maker is when it's your time to meet your maker. It's your time. I mean, you can be the healthiest person in the world, but
It's
I mean,
going to happen to all of us,
yeah, yeah,
it is what it is. But it taught me a very valuable lesson. Whenever he died, I had no regrets at all. I didn't need to tell him I loved him. I didn't need to tell him that he was the best. He knew that. We told each other that. I knew how proud of me he was. And I knew that he thought I did a great job at what I do. We knew all this because we discussed it. So if there's anything to take away, tell the ones that you love that you do, and it'll all be okay.
yep, yep. So 2011, you take over. How old were you around this time?
I was 25.
25. So you take the reins. Was it just you, or did you guys have any employees?
Yeah, there was three or four of us. I inherited the entire business. I didn't get any money when he died. I got tools and clients is what I got, to carry it on.
That's better than money.
Yeah, yeah. I was taught a skill, a very valuable skill that I can do anywhere in the world and make it.
And you
So
have.
it was, yeah, yeah. It's uh it's a really cool thing to look back on. I'm just getting to the age where I can look back at life and think, man, there's some cool shit that's happened, and
How old are
and
you
it's
now,
it's
Chade?
finally. I'm 39.
39. Okay. So you're not too much. I just turned 42. So we're right there in that. But I'll tell you, there's something about turning 40.
Yeah. Age has never been a thing to me. It doesn't. I guess it's a milestone, but
It's a
it is what
weird
it is.
milestone when you look back. Like, I mean, my wife and I talk about this now. We're like, I mean, we love our life, our kids. I mean, everything that we get to been blessed with, been able to do. It's amazing. But you just like, something about 40. You start, like you said, you kind of start looking back on things, and you're like, I didn't even have the slightest idea 10 years ago.
The older you get, the older old gets. 40 was a death sentence whenever I was in junior high. It's, and now it's like, well, hell, it's
Yeah, it's just around the corner. My son asked me the other day, he's like, hey, Dad, back when you were a kid in the 1900s, could you do?
yeah.
And I'm just like, shut up and sit down.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you're like, crap, I guess it was the 1900s because it was like in the 90s. Dang it.
Yeah, yeah. What they say, what is it? If they made a movie today about 2002, 2004, it would be the same as Dazed and Confused was whenever it came out in what, like 93?
That would be insane.
So yeah, your high school senior year, it right now is the same as Dazed and Confused was whenever it came out. I think about that, the time leap there. That's pretty wild.
That is absolutely wild. And then what it'll be like in another 20, 30 years. It's crazy. My wife's grandpa, we called him Paul, oh Pawpaw, he would always say, and it's still one of my favorite sayings today. He passed years ago, but he was in his 90s, I think, when he passed. But his favorite saying was, "Life's like a roll of toilet paper. The closer to the end, the faster it goes."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, that's something that, yeah, I would expect someone that was around World War II or in World War II would say, but it's a very good saying. I mean, it's a lot of truth to it.
When it's out, there's nothing to do. Just got to take a shower.
So let's see. You're in your 20s, running the company, and I'm assuming Perryton's not a very big town. So where are you guys getting most of your work at? I mean, where are you going to paint houses? Are you going down to
I mean, it's
Amarillo?
all local. No, we never worked outside of Perryton, growing up. But my dad, he never wanted to leave town. My dad wanted to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and be home at 5 o'clock to hang out with my mom and the kids. And weekends, he wanted to work in the yard and maintain the house. That was his dream life, and that's what he did. So we didn't do travel work. We work other surrounding towns, 30 minutes or maybe an hour away, but that was about it.
Okay. So you did go outside of town a little bit, just didn't do jumping states or coming over to Dallas for a project or
No,
anything.
no. There was no overnight. If we couldn't drive there and get a full day in, then we weren't going to do it.
That's kind of how I was back in when I had my company. I mean, I'd give like an hour and a half drive, maybe, but that was it. I wasn't going any farther than that. So, so we're 2011. So we'll kind of running the company, just growing. I mean, how are you guys doing? Are you guys staying steady?
We've, even through, the 2008 crash and all that, we've never been out of work. Always stayed steady here in town. We're the top company in Perryton. There's just a few other painters, and all of our clients. I'm still painting houses that I worked in whenever I was 10 years old, 12 years old. Those are still the clients that we service here locally.
Isn't that great to have a client base? That was very similar. I mean, have that committed client base that just calls you and says, "Hey, We're going out of town for the weekend. Come paint the house. We need this done and this done. You just go do it.
Yeah, I mean they drop off the garage remote or the key, and we work while they're gone. We do a lot of vacation jobs that way. But yeah, it's a small town in all sense. You know, whenever I say small town, I don't mean it's a suburb. I don't mean it's Flower Mound or anything like that. I mean that we're 2 hours of highway driving to Amarillo, and that's our closest city if you want to go to Home Depot or something. So it's not, we are in the middle of nowhere.
So how many people? What's the population in Perryton?
About 8,000.
8,000. Okay. Wow, that is a small town. I mean, that to me, after living in Dallas, that sounds absolutely phenomenal.
You know, I couldn't wait to get out of this town whenever I was a kid. And every kid in high school is the same way, you know.
Yes,
There's
we are.
nothing to do here. But man, when we move back, it's the easiest life. You know, you get anywhere in town in 5 minutes. There's no traffic. You know, my banker's the president of the bank. I've known him my whole life. You know, I know the mayor. You know, it's this true small town West Texas life, and
That just
it's
sounds
amazing.
amazing. All the retired guys go to the coffee shop or the donut shop in the morning and hang out. I mean, I'm ready to do that. I'm like, I'm in. Let's go do that every
Yeah,
morning.
yeah, yeah. My dad never left the grocery store without a couple of jobs. You know, him and my mother would go to the grocery store every Sunday and just go do their thing, and he'd walk out with a couple
Uh,
people that he needed to call next week. You know.
that's a salesman right there. That's genius. Yeah, go get customers. So, how did that parlay into your social media? Because you got really popular. I mean, you still are extremely popular on social media. Um, how did that come about?
So that was so there's a time period in there that's pretty fuzzy. So yeah, from the age of 27, 28, I would say, you know, I had a bad drinking problem I developed through the years from, you know, for whatever reason. And you know, we can get into it, I guess. You know, I felt like the weight of the world was on me. I was given this company. My dad was gone. All my siblings, my little brother, he was actually 12 years old when my dad died.
That's a lot of pressure.
A lot, you know, and I felt like the weight of the world was on me, and I had to perform. I had to be Fred Turner. Every day whenever I woke up, I had to go out there and be Fred. The customers wanted Fred. My mom needed Fred. My little brother needed Fred, and I had to be that. And every day that I walked out to try to do that, I was a failure. You know, I failed
I
every
can
single
relate. Yeah,
day. And it took a toll, and I really think that that's what it was. And I went downhill. And for the last couple of years of my drinking career, I didn't work at all, you know. And my wife tried to run the business. There still had a few employees doing exteriors and stuff, and I just dipped out of life, period. You know, and I was a really bad alcoholic and almost died. You know, I went to the hospital twice in a year. Went to the emergency room. The ambulance came and picked me up, you know, and I was almost dead. I had jaundice, you know, my eyes and skin were yellow. I had neuropathy. I just about drank myself to death by the age of 32. And it was a terrible, terrible thing. And once again, you know, the full circle deal is my dad was a recovered alcoholic. He got sober whenever he was about 32 as well. And whenever I had nowhere else to go, I remembered, you know, I got an opportunity to go to a facility that was an AA based facility through people that my dad had helped through the years. And it all went full circle from him helping people to those people helping me. And it changed my life. It changed the whole trajectory of my life, you know. And even up until then, I didn't like painting. I was good at it and I could make money doing it, but I didn't enjoy it. I didn't love it. And whenever I got sober and got out of treatment and came home, and I'd pray, you know, God, I don't know what you want me to do, but whatever that is, I will do it. Just please tell me. And I'd hear my dad in my head, just go back to work, son. You know, he'd tell me that. And so that's what I did. went to treatment, got out, and I told God all I want is my wife and my business back. If that's in the cards, that's all I'm asking for. If it's not in the cards, then let's see what happens, you know. And I got back and just go back to work, son. And came back and met with some people and continuing the step work and in the 12-step program that I am a member of, you know, and every person, you know, I never stole from anybody. I never robbed anybody, but I just flaked out. You know, customers would call and I just didn't answer. And I had to tell them I was sorry. And every single person that I went and talked to, "Yeah, I'm not trying to get work from this. I just have to let you know that I dipped out and I know that." They said, "God, I'm glad you're back. We need our house painted." And that was it just you know,
That's pretty eye opening right there.
it was complete humility on my part. I was honest and humble, and I was doing what somebody told me to do that had done it before, and that was all I was focused on, you know. And I got my wife and I got my business back.
And it shows you I don't want to say, I mean, the kindness and the resilience of people when they have someone they can trust. I mean, that's a arms wide open. Come on, man. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing, you know. And whenever I was in my cups, you know, everybody's against you. You have that mindset. Everybody hates you. Nobody wants you around. You know, everybody's out to get you. And it turns out you're the asshole. They just don't want nothing to do with you. They don't hate you, you know. But whenever I went around talking to people, I found out everybody was on my team, man. You know, they may not put up with me, but they were on my team. So whenever I came back, they said, "I'm glad you're back. Come on, let's go." And we did.
That's fantastic. That's amazing. So now I think I just saw you, was it your 6 year?
8.
8 years sober, man. Congratulations. That's freaking phenomenal.
So yeah, at that time, 32, came back and got back into it, and that's whenever I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the craft. I fell in love with the work. I fell in love with the grind, you know, and that's whenever my whole life changed. Whenever I no longer struggled, you know, I enjoyed sanding. I enjoyed puttying holes. I enjoyed caulking, you know, and the end product is awesome, but I fell in love with the process because I was so freaking grateful. I didn't have to go change oil at you know, I didn't have to go get a job at the grocery store. I had a skill set that I had honed over years and that was gifted to me, you know, through my dad, through my hero. And I had a skill set and I was so grateful to come back and get to work. And that's whenever everything changed.
That's awesome. So that was 32, so you're,
That was 2017.
yeah, 2017. So that was, that's about the time when the internet kind of started picking up and you just kind of took to it and I mean, the whole painting community just, I mean, they jumped in there right behind you.
Yeah, yeah. And I was nowhere near the first of the line on that deal. You know, I had no idea. I was cruising YouTube one day and it was the Idaho Painter popped up on my feed and I thought, "What? This guy's painting houses on YouTube?" And I looked at his following and all the videos he had and I was like, "Holy cow." And I found that side of it. I was like, "Man." So then I go to Instagram and start searching, and sure enough, there's all kinds of finishers and stuff on there. And I jumped in and talking to people, and that's whenever that took off for social media. And I never used my personal account anymore. It was on motorcycles and drinking whiskey. And
Yeah. I,
I started the Turner Painting account and went off from there.
I don't even know that I can log into my personal social media account anymore. I don't know what the password is.
Yeah, it's
Well, so that kind of segued into, we've got the finishing on the clean and sober, narrow path. Love it. I mean, I get it. I was in there a little bit, not crazy into it, then went to the manufacturing side. How did you get involved with, I mean, I will, Mr. Pioneer on these liquid metal coatings. I mean, you I mean, you jumped in feet first. I mean, how did you even hear about them?
Well, I guess pretty much my first travel job. It was a client from here in Perryton, and they have a house down in Dallas. They had bought their, all my clients, their kids are having kids, and they live in Amarillo or Dallas or something. So they're retiring and buying a home in that area to be with the grandkids and all that stuff. So they asked if we'd go down and paint this house they just bought, and we go do that. And I'm sitting in a hotel room in Weatherford, Texas, and see fine paints of Europe. And I'd always wondered, who painted Jeff Bezos' house? Who painted Bill Gates' house? Who painted the White House? Who were these guys? And I run across fine paints, and it was just another level. And that was at the beginning of the gloss. Of course, it's been around forever. But as far as social media and everything that I've learned has been through social media. All the people that I've met, all the avenues that I've taken has been through social media. Well, I see fine paints and I see gloss like I've never seen it before, and I start researching that, and I have friends that are using it, and I look up a guy named Adam Fox. Somebody tells me to hit him up. He lives in Dallas, the only master certified FPE painter in the state of Texas, and he doesn't answer his phone. I'm like, whatever. And he calls me back 3 days later. He says, "Hey man, sorry, I'm in Charleston right now doing a gloss front door for somebody. I'll be back in town then, and I'd love to meet up. Let's chat." And I was like, "Well, man, I'm going home tomorrow back to Perryton, but let's keep this going." So we talk a little bit, and he calls me. Um, been It would have been the fall of 2020. He calls me and says, "Hey, I'm at this shop, and we're bringing in this company for a certification. It's called Liquid Metal, Vero Metal. Come down. You really need to be a part of this. It's something big." It's like, okay, whatever. I never heard of it before. Didn't know anything about it, and it was one of the first classes in the U.S. It wasn't the first one. That was over on the East Coast, but so I take the chance, pay my due, and head down to Dallas for that class, and it blew my mind. I went with Adam to check out some projects that they were working on, and it was stuff I'd never seen before, mansions, all crazy, crazy stuff. He was polishing out, I don't know how many there were, these Macassar ebony panels that they were doing in polyester gloss, and they were shooting those and polishing. I'd never seen that before. This is all new to me. I'm just a country bumpkin from the West Texas Panhandle, but I knew it was different. It was
Yeah.
stuff I'd seen in pictures, and I wanted to do that, and that's whenever everything changed. And took the class. Robert Chicky was there, Robert Beckers and Frank from the Netherlands, the co-owners of Vero Metal. They were there. Um, Fell in love with it, and Adam was a big part of that and getting me into it. And Robert and I became fast friends as well. I ordered a bunch of product after the class, and then of course COVID hit that year. That was right before anything happened. January 2020 is whenever I took that class. So that first year,
Three
I
months
probably
later.
spent $10,000 of buying Vero and playing and messing with it in the shop. Just seeing what it could do, seeing what I could do with it, practicing polishing. Every step of the liquid metal process is an entire rabbit hole in its own. From spraying to polishing to patina to clear coats, it could be its own industry. So it was something that really, that and fine paints of Europe. It was a new animal. I grew up shooting oil. If we did painted trim in all these custom homes, it was oil, alkyd enamel.
I remember, yeah, my father in law mentored me. He'd been in it for 30, 40 years. And he saw some of this. He'd long said water base will never be what it is. He was an old school satin and pervo, probably about like your dad, satin and pervo. That's just what you use.
Cut it a little bit of penetrol, and we'd brush it for days.
Exactly. That's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Oh
Don't let
man,
that
but
brush hit the bottom of that can, son.
yep. And then I think just over the years and how much better it's gotten. But I remember it was probably around COVID too, and same thing. Stumbled on social media. I mean, I stumbled on Jeremiah over in Orlando. No, not Orlando, Northern Florida.
He's in Jacksonville or something, I
Jacksonville.
think.
Yeah. So I stumbled on him and Inno Metals, and I ordered some and played with it. And I mean, it's another monster. Like the class, I've not gotten Robert to, I've been up there to see him, but I haven't actually done a class, and I think I'd like to at some point, just because now we geek out over paint. But
Yeah, let's make it happen.
it's different. Like messing with that Inno Metals, I can't. I mean, I don't have that phone anymore, but I mean, I can't even think about how many texts I'm texting to Jeremiah. Like, it's doing this. What the hell is this? It looks like this off of the gun, like this and that, and I'm just like. And then you start cutting it. We did gloss, but then you start getting the pads out and starting to bring the polish up, and it's pitting, and oh my god, it's crazy. But once you get it, oh my gosh.
In my class, and I try to tell people too, whenever I do classes, that Robert Becker's the owner. He's the maker of Vero metal, pretty much. He came from the automotive industry and started Vero over 20 years ago. But every single question I would ask him, he'd say, "Yeah, you can do that." Like he never told me no, and it was so frustrating. It's like, can I do this? Yeah, you can do that. And you can't comprehend that until you actually use this stuff. And yeah, you can do that. If it looks good, then that is a technique, you know. So it was the hardest part was for me to wrangle my mind in and focus. I've got to focus on doing this. I have to make this finish. Quit playing. I got to do this. And
Oh man, you can go down some rabbit holes and be like squirrel, 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 squirrel.
yeah, yeah. But during that period of my career of my life, everything was back. The business was good. Callie and I were doing awesome. And I found Vero and I found fine paints, and it excited me like never before. It fired me up so much. I was tired of I was doing the things that I've been doing for 20 years. If it was a stain job, it was stain and pre-cat. If it was a painted job, it was alkyd enamel. And then we rolled lotion on the walls. It was just the same thing. And this was something new, and it was another level. It looked different, it felt different, and it excited me like nothing else had before. So I just jumped in, feet first, and fell in love with it and took off.
And it has taken you. What's some of the craziest places the Vero has taken you, location wise?
I mean, from New York to San Diego,
You've been all
all in
over.
between. We've been all over the country. I've taught classes all over the country, Seattle, the Carolinas, Texas, I've been everywhere.
What's your favorite job on Vero that you've done to date? I don't want to let you put you down to one.
I don't
Top
know.
two.
Um, the Buffalo, New York job was pretty cool. We went in and did that gold desk in the Liberty Building in Buffalo. Brett Praise, one of my really, really good friends. We did that one. That was a lot of fun. Um, and of course, the Denver job that we did last year in Cherry Hills. I built the whole team and brought in 8 different people on cycles. We were there for
Wow.
6 weeks doing that project. That was pretty wild. It was really cool. It's something to be seen to have 5 or 6 or 7 high level executioners in there just doing it. It's like a symphony, man.
Oh, I can
And somebody's
imagine.
got to sand, somebody's got to vacuum. Everybody has a place, no matter what level you're at. Somebody's got to clean the floor, and that's understood.
Yeah, you get to that level to where I could see that as running a business and having 8, 10, 12 guys, you know, at that level, as
There's no egos at that point.
exactly
There can't be, or it's not going to
yes,
work.
exactly. I know Robert says that the level that stuff is on, it's not your normal painting level. But it reminds me of a quote that I saw the other day that said, you know, at the bottom, everyone's competing against each other. At the top, everyone's collaborating.
Yeah, yeah, it's collaboration, not competition. I've got to tell this guy that is an amazing fine paints oil gloss applicator that he has to vacuum the floor for me, and I'm taking the trash out while they're dusting it's all everybody, we're working together. It's
And
true
it's all
teamwork.
nothing but yes, sir, you got it. I mean, the respect at that level.
Everybody respected everybody and there was no hurt feelings, and if and it is it's an adventure trying to delegate a team of 7 or 8 high level individuals. Of course there's a little bit of drama sometimes to be expected, but having those friends and having that relationship with those people, at the end of the day, it's all respect, and we got the job done, and it was an amazing outcome. It was really, really cool.
You just recently got to go over and visit headquarters, right? Is this that your first time going over there?
Yep, never been overseas. I've been everywhere in the lower 48, but yeah, we flew to England, landed in London, and spent a couple days there visiting some people, and then went up to Amsterdam, spent a couple days there seeing people and seeing some things. Then we drove up to Landgraf, or down, whatever it is. And that's where headquarters is. Vero Metal International is based out of Landgraf, Netherlands. So we went there and had an amazing meeting with all those guys. And it's a small company. It's not a huge production manufacturing facility. It's the real deal. It was really, really cool to go over there. I never would have thought painting took me to Europe. Painting has taken me to New York City and California and Seattle and everywhere in between.
And it's half the painting and the skill, and the other half is, I think it's your passion that shows through. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. It's not having the best person, it's having the right person.
I like that.
And the
Yep.
best doesn't mean the best skill set. You got to be cool, man. That's the number one thing to be on my team. I've got to like you. We've got to get along, and you've got to be cool. You can be the best applicator in the world, but if you're an asshole, I don't want you on my team.
I mean, who wants to work with an asshole?
A lot of people, apparently.
I was just about to say there's a lot of them out there, but they usually stay in the corporate world. You guys have fun over there.
Yeah, but no, to get along and do what I don't do friction. I don't do drama. I don't do that. I don't want it in my life, and I will not accept it in my life. So the people that I surround myself with, they are friends, and I just happen to be lucky enough to have a lot of high level executioners as friends. And it's been a really cool journey.
That's pretty cool. What about here of lately? Are you working on any cool projects, or anything surprising coming up?
Um, no, I've got some new houses, a lot of new stuff going on in Amarillo this year. There's a specific builder that I do a lot of work for, and he's got some nice big customs coming up. Last year we did a custom for him in Amarillo. I brought on Carson out of Alabama. Brett came down for it. I've had Marcello out of San Antonio up to work. These guys I can call in. I just had Aaron up here to help me out for a couple weeks. So I planned on using my contacts on these big customs. Last year, that house, it got best. What do they call it? They don't call it a master suite anymore. They call it something else. But yeah, best in Amarillo for the Pareto homes. We got the best primary suite, I guess maybe is what it's
Primary,
called now.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Was that the stain project that you did a crap ton of?
We did a lot of stain. All the cabinets were stain. I used CIC on the vanities, black base coat, and natural effect clear for matte black cabinets. Um, we did a bunch of Vero. I did a huge 7 feet by 20 feet living room fireplace and textured manganese. I did another textured manganese fireplace around in the master bedroom. We did the bronze island, some other accents around the house. I restored, or not really restored, but made workable 2 sets of pre-Civil War doors that they bought and used for the dining doors and the master bath doors. There's a lot of really cool things on that project.
Man, that'll be a fun one coming up to see what they do next.
Yeah, it was all FPE, Eurolux walls and ceilings, CIC for stain, and Vero.
Man, I remember I did wasn't it? I think it was an oak vanity that I did, and the guy didn't want stain, but he wanted it to look very natural, but it was almost pigmented. It was like a pigmented gray, but he didn't want stain because he wanted to feel everything, all the grain. So I took Circa's natural effect and put some of their FPU colorants in there, solvent based, and just got enough where it was color, but it was the natural effect kind of. And man, that was probably one of my favorite vanities because you had that fully opaque, but it was like the wood was fully penetrated with the color because you could still feel everything. You could feel the rawness of the wood, but it was completely opaque. That was a fun finish.
Yeah. Yeah, those natural effects are cool. The matte finish and it's such a close, such a tight coating that it's a really cool effect.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I want to do one, and I don't know I don't know if even if it would work. I think it would be cool to do one of those natural effects over a Vero. Have you done that?
No, I've done some matte clears over it and it looks really it's a different look.
I wonder if it would still patina.
You do that before?
Well, I meant like because if you don't, right? Because if correct me if I'm wrong, but if you don't clear coat, like let's just say the gunmetal or whatever, the magnesium, if you don't clear coat it, it will patina over time because
It's going to oxidize,
it's
yeah.
going to oxidize. So I wonder if you put the natural effect over the top of it because most of the natural effects, it's like a half film form, half penetrating product. If it would oxidize or not.
I mean, as long as you're cutting off oxygen to it, that's where your oxidation's coming from is
Or if it would like extend whether it would extend the oxidation time between a standard panel and a panel with that.
yeah, that's what waxes do. It's going to seal it, but it's going to continue to oxidize, but slowly, very, very
It just
slowly.
slows it down.
Yeah.
I don't know why that stuff is just fascinating to me. I just
You,
just
you you can do that too.
you can do
Yeah.
that. Oh, I think that's one thing that I found interesting from my time on the manufacturing side is talking to because I got to know a lot of the manufacturers, even the European guys, those guys that are manufacturing coatings over there. We would talk, but the difference between European manufacturers and American manufacturers is I think a lot of them are like that. Like, oh yeah, I think you can do that. Yeah, you should do that. You go outside of TDS on an American coating and they're just like, nope.
And I see that across the board of the hustle culture in America. If you're not grinding and making money, then what are you doing? Where those guys, they don't have that same mentality. They like to play a little bit like I do, and yeah, sure, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And the all the coolest things I've ever done were accidents. I was trying to fix something and I didn't get it fixed, but this thing happened. Okay, I'm going to
Yep.
shelf that idea because that was awesome. But I've still got to fix this. Okay, I got to fix. But I always remember that what happened whenever I mix those two things together. And okay, well, let's try that. And it's a new finish. It's a new technique. And you have to play. You have to go out there and just play. And if you don't love what you do, you're not going to play. If you don't enjoy it, then you won't experiment.
I just did an episode, and I think it came out. It was out this week. I don't know if you caught it yet. A guy named Jamie. He has a company called Dealing in Design. They do furniture restoration. He's in Australia. Had a ton of fun with him. I mean, if you just want to laugh your ass off for an hour, He is so damn funny. He's hilarious. But he talks about the culture difference between America and even Australia, and it was fascinating to me because he talks about. So he says, Jamie loves the Americans are very hustle. You know, hey man, I got this many jobs done. Business is going to clear a million this year, and America's like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude, that's awesome, congratulations. And he's in Australia. They're like, who's this asshole gloating about his job? I'm gonna go surf.
Yeah,
He's like, they just
yeah, yeah,
don't do that in many European cultures, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. A friend of mine, Martin DeWinter, he's out in LA. He's a metal manufacturer, and every Friday, like they shut down at noon every Friday, and they mess around in the shop, like, just do stuff,
That's cool.
and
That would
that's
be
a
fun.
that's a weekly deal for them, and that's stuff like that. I think is very important. You've got to keep the passion alive somehow. You can't just grind. You'll grind yourself to dust, man. You've got to find something else that turns you on.
I will agree with that. I mean, I would say when I sold, I was ready to sell because the grind. It got and my father in law who mentored me told me like you're gonna get too big. I wasn't that big for a reason. Then you start having to feed the monster all the time instead of enjoying what you do. You're just feeding this giant monster. You gotta
Shoveling coal.
gotta find that balance. I'm stubborn, so I had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, me too. uh, the blessing and a curse.
Exactly. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know we're coming in on that hour here, but couple things that I like to ask, I'm starting to add is if you were to run into a 20-year-old Chade, what is a piece of advice you would give him based on your experience now?
There's a book that I read, and the one of the main things in that book, it started out and it said, "Don't try." And through the book, I realized what he meant, but it's don't force it is basically it. Don't try. What's that saying? Water doesn't resist the rocks; it just flows. And everything in my life, I haven't forced my career. Everything has just been a meeting, and we hit it off, and this relationship bounced me over here. And through this, I bet somebody else that bounced me over here. Don't force it. Just be. Find something that you love, whatever that is. And in my case, I learned to love it. I didn't always love it. The passion came later. And I can't tell somebody to stick it out until they love it. That's not good advice, I don't think. But don't force it. If you don't like it, then do something different, and don't force it.
Don't be afraid to try other things. That's a big one.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay, I like that, man. That's a good one. Now the final one is I know we've dug deep and stuff that you've done over your past. What's something that we might find surprising? What's a hobby that you have besides painting that might catch the community off guard or surprise us?
Oh, I don't know. I love fly fishing, leather work, the outdoors. It's all pretty. I don't know.
I haven't. I got to try it. I got to try fly fishing. I admit I've never done it, but I think fishing, and I might get hate for this, is the most god awful, boringest thing ever invented.
See, and I love it because of that. I don't have to think. I don't have to, and it's everybody always asks. We love to go to the mountains. We're about 4 hours from New Mexico, and we spend a lot of time out there, and it's a different place. It's a spiritual thing to me, pretty much. You get out there, and it's everybody always asks us because we like to go in the summer. We always went snow skiing whenever we were kids, but we always went in the summer, and everybody, what do you do out there? Nothing. you know,
Sit on
Nothing
the
at all.
porch
I
and
watch the
drink
grass
coffee.
grow for 2 days, and then we'll go hit the river. We'll drive from lake to lake. We don't do nothing. And My peace is very, very important to me, and I will keep that peace. If there's something in my life that does not allow peace, I will reject that.
Oh
And
man, that's
you've
great.
got to make
Great.
money, you've got to go, you got to do what you got to do. But at the end of the day, whenever I come home and I walk in the house and I see my wife and she smiles and says, "Hey, baby, I love you." That's the best. Or if I'm home and I see her pulling up in the driveway, I'm excited. And life is really an amazing thing whenever you have that peace and you don't struggle. There's always shit down the road. That goes without saying. And I'm not saying life's perfect.
Anything but you have to enjoy those little moments.
Yeah, I've found a peaceful place in my life, and it's priceless. There's nothing that I'd trade it for.
That's awesome, man. Well, that is a phenomenal story. I love that advice. Find peace. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, I don't want to keep you too much longer. We're getting close to Friday. I know you got to go and enjoy a little bit of wife time. But
Right on.
Chade, thank you for coming on, man. I know we've been trying to do it for a little bit. I'm glad we finally did. Next
Yeah.
time, what we need to do is get Robert next class. We need to do an in-person episode with everyone at the class.
Yeah. Yeah. The next class is the end of May.
End of May. Where's it at?
That's at Roberts and St. Paul.
Okay. I'll hit him up. He and I are supposed to have a talk next week, but maybe see about bringing the equipment up there and doing something.
Yeah, I'll say something to him too, and see if we can't get something going for that one.
I like it. I like it. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. I greatly appreciate your time. Excellent story. If you guys don't follow Chade, all of his social is going to be down there in the description of the show. Quit living under a rock. Give him a follow. Let him know that you love his work, and make sure you hit the like button, and we'll see you next week. Everybody have a good one. Chade, brother, have a good one, sir.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Bearded Finisher Podcast. We thank everyone for joining. Keep hustling, keep learning, and never settle for anything less than your best. Remember, the path to perfection is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.